Welcome to you, Cellos, for today's media luncheon. We have head coach Matt Mitchell and offensive lineman Jim Walsh. Grand Valley State will be making its 17th all-time playoff appearance, its second all-time in NCAA Division II history. Lakers have a 31-12 mark in NCAA playoff play, and that is second wins, and their winning percentage is second. So, Coach, if you can talk briefly about the Saginaw game, and we'll quickly move on to playing Ashland, which Grand Valley State will play at noon on Saturday at Ashland.
Sure, hard-fought victory. We knew heading into the game that Saginaw's defense was pretty good. I've been out there quite a bit, and I think that you talked to our players and watched it from the sideline. It was a very physical football game on both sides of the ball. So, we got off to a good start. Need to get off to a good start. We're up 14-3. We're driving, and we make a questionable decision down in the end zone. Bart throws a pick, and it gets returned for a touchdown. And all of a sudden you look up and, it's 14-10 when it could have easily been 21-3. So story, for offensively, the first half we turned the ball over. And the second half we had a turnover too, so we had 3 turnovers. And I think maybe a little bit of my fault. We've been aggressive offensively the entire season. I felt our defense was playing well. I saw that their starting quarterback is not suited up for the second half. And I told our offense, we can't afford turnovers. I think we got a good chance to win this game because we're playing good defense as long as we don't make a bunch of mistakes offensively. And probably got away a little bit in that third quarter from, what the identity of this team is a little bit. But we picked it up with a good scoring drive, hit Potts on a sideline pass, and Matt Williams in the end zone again, got Bart back where we needed him to get. So, the entire day, I thought we played great defense. We gave up 1 touchdown. The other touchdown was on offense. Gave up 1 touchdown, 1 field goal, and even the field goal is off a sudden change in a short field. So that was the matchup I knew we had to win, given the scoring average, Saginaw had coming in. And I thought we were going to have even more advantage when their starting quarterback went down. But as it turns out, the kid that came in I thought played well, and he led the scoring drive and was throwing it around efficiently. So, our kids fought. They fought hard. I think it's unique that, last game against Tiffin, we couldn't really be stopped offensively, and we were porous defensively, and we kind of flipped things around a little bit this week. We played some pretty good defense. We struggled a little bit offensively, and part of the struggles were maybe not all on the kids. Some of the struggles were on the head coach, slowing us down a little bit just given the nature of the game, just trying to win and get in. But from an individual performance standpoint, got to get a lot of credit to Kirk Spencer. Towards that end of the game, that later in the third and most of the fourth, especially with the 2-score lead, we rode him. We wanted to try to kill some clock, and he was having great ball security. He was running hard, and he was spent at the end of the game. Like I said, it was a physical ball game. They were really hitting hard, but we kind of put the game on his back, especially with the 3 turnovers by Bart. We kind of leaned on Kurt a lot, especially in the second half, and he came out big for us. He had a really big game, not just statistically, but the way that he handled some of the pressure that we needed him to handle in that football game, and came out with the victory. So, headed in the locker room, I think we felt pretty good about our opportunities and our chances. And then as I saw some of the scores go down, and I checked the strength of schedules when they were posted prior to the selection show on Sunday, I was not surprised by how it went out from a seeding standpoint. Midwestern State, had the top strength of schedule in the nation. There's 170 D2 schools that had the number 1 strength of schedule. And, with them beating Commerce and knocking Commerce down, I knew we had a decent chance at the 6th seed, and ended up playing Ashland. So, again, a unique opportunity for us. We went down there 3 weeks ago, and for them, they had a bye last week, so they're going to have played us 2 times in the last 3 weeks, which is very unique for both squads. But we didn't play well defensively at all the entire day. We had some struggles on third down. We had some struggles in the red zone. We just didn't really execute very well defensively. On the flip side, we were able to get some things going in the air in the passing game, and we're pretty prolific that day with Bart and some of our receivers. And, we bogged down in the red zone. So, I think this type of game, Ashland, they're going to do what they do. I don't think this isn't going to be the type of game where schematically, it's going to be a whole lot different from a scheme standpoint. I mean, there'll be a few tweaks for both Grand Valley State and Ashland University by the coaching staffs, but I think both teams are going to stay true to who they are and kind of what got them there. It's come down to our players being healthy, our players being fresh, our players being prepared, and ultimately at noon on Saturday, our guys got to make some plays. You know, our guys on both sides of the ball in special teams got to show up, we got to play well, and we got to make some plays. And, you know, that's the process that we got to, you know, start going back and taking a look at. I think our experiences 2 years ago by both the coaching staff and some of our players could potentially help us in the situation. 2 years ago we played Saginaw in the final regular season game and had a quick turnaround to had to play the same team. And this is, even though it's not the previous week, this is for them will be, as I said, their next to last ball game against us, and we played them just 3 weeks ago. So that's a pretty quick turnaround, and hopefully we can draw off some of those experiences as a coaching staff because we're all the same coaches and try to figure out what we can do to put our kids in the best position. I'm going to tell you, one of the things we can do is make sure we're fresh and healthy and rested and you know, prepared, and we'll be focusing a lot on that heading into Saturday.
Jim, if you could answer, how does your team feel about getting to play another game, and was that on your mind on Saturday?
It was definitely on our mind. We're excited, especially for us seniors, you know, going to that game thinking that could be our last 60 minutes of football ever. That has definitely provided a lot of motivation to go out and get the job done so we can get ourselves another 60 minutes. We really looked at that like a first playoff game rather than a last regular season game. So we're all excited. It's, you know, none of us are ready for this ride to be over this year. We have a great team. We really do love each other, and it's just really exciting to get a chance to play another game.
Coach, the cliche says it's harder to beat another team twice. Do you buy into that at all, and do you think that gives you guys any of an advantage?
Well, I had somebody tell me that same thing. I said, well, if you play like crap, it's easy to beat them twice. So, I mean, I don't know about that. We beat Saginaw twice 2 years ago, and we beat them worse the second time. So it's all about how you play. It may be harder to beat us twice if we play well. If we don't play well, it'll be really easy to beat us. So it's all about that 60 minutes and from noon until 3 p.m., how we play, and try to draw off some of those experiences. So I don't really buy into it. It's just all about your performance on that time frame.
Coach, when you played Ashland last time, you said a lot of the things were correctable. Do you think you got some of those corrected in the last few weeks, or is it hard to tell?
Well, I mean, that's why you got to practice all this week. Here's the thing. The stuff that Ashland does from a schematic standpoint, it's not what Tiffin does, and it's not what Saginaw Valley State does. So, for me to say it gets corrected, it'll be easy against the scout team probably to get it corrected. It'll be quite a different affair against them. So some of the things that Ashland does are challenging in terms, like as I mentioned in that postgame press conference and the media luncheon following it. There's some challenges from eye control. There's challenges from discipline. And the last two opponents we played don't put us in some of those conundrums that they do. So we're going to have another good week of practice, and we got to get it corrected. If we don't get it corrected, then we won't be playing.
Coach, a lot has made Tarnowski and Ashland's passing attack, but just how good is Van Settlemyer, and what makes him tough to stop?
He's really good. I mean, the reason they had an overtime game with Walsh, he didn't play, in my opinion, and heard that. It's the team that went to overtime with Walsh. Well, Van Settlemyer, their leading rusher, one of the best backs in our conference, obviously was injured or something happened. He didn't play in that contest. So he's good. I thought we did a good job the first half, and through most of the third quarter kind of bottling him up. I think they only had 70-some yards rushing at half. But when they needed to run him at the end of the game to seal the victory when they had the lead, he was an effective runner. He's really hard to tackle. He's not a power back, and he's not necessarily a pure speed back, but he's very shifty. He's a low center of gravity, and he's tough to bring down. And he's good. And we have seen him in this, on tape. We see him a lot. We haven't played Ashland, obviously the past, the year he's a freshman, but we saw him a little bit the last couple years, and I think that Anthony Taylor was their senior in 2014. I think a lot of people thought, when he left, what's going to happen? I think that Van Settlemyer stepped up and done a great job. I mean, it's when you look at the statistics between these two schools, they both have 1,000-yard rushing tailbacks. They both got quarterbacks that have passed for close to 3,000 yards and are very efficient quarterbacks. And there's a lot of similarities between these two teams. And so what Kirk Spencer is to Grand Valley, I would definitely make a comparison that Van Settlemyer is to Ashland.
If both guys could address this, this getting to be in the playoffs and getting this one more chance at Ashland, was that, is that an advantage, or would you rather be playing somebody you've never seen before?
Go ahead.
I'm excited. I want to play Ashland again. I have a really bad taste in my mouth from the last game, and getting to play them again just really feels like a chance to right some wrongs.
Yeah, I guess for me, as a head coach, there's 100, like I said, I think there's 170 D2 schools and 28 get in. You just got to find a way throughout the course of the regular season to get in, find to be 1 of 28. There's been a lot in our region. If you look at the history of our region, seedings don't matter. You just got to find a way to get in. If you look at 2 years ago, Pueblo was the number 1 seed, and we got in and found a way to win that game. Last year, Ferris was the number 1 seed. I'd have to go back and look because I don't know, but it's been a long time since like the number 1 seed represented our region in the national semifinals. So nobody knows how good the Lone Star schools are. Nobody knows really how good the RMAC schools are. We don't watch tape on them. We don't really know a ton about the GLVC other than we saw them in a crossover against Hillsdale and Saginaw Valley State. But we know a lot about Ashland. We know a lot about Ferris State, and I think that is unique. That's the unique thing about the D2 playoffs. But I wouldn't make any assumptions that the number 1 is better than the 2, the better than the 3. You don't know. You don't know until you play. And so for me, it doesn't matter who we play. Just get in. Find a way to get in. Find a way to get into the playoffs and be 1 of 20. Like obviously this week it's 1 of 24. Next week, 1 of 28. Next week it'll be 1 of 16. So we got to try to find a way at Ashland University to be 1 of 16, and that's Chuck was always about that when I was an assistant with him, and that's an approach I think that's worked for us. It worked 2 years ago, and it's worked when I've been a head coach too. That's whoever we got to play is we got to play, but we just got to find a way to survive and advance. And we get too many people on the outside that want to prognosticate about the bracket and how it's going to go down. We don't. We're just happy to get in. We find out who our play, and we're going to try to survive and advance.
Both of you guys were here, obviously, in 2013. Team got hot and went on a roll in the playoffs and made it to the national semifinals. Any comparisons to that, or can you use what happened then now?
Well, I think the comparison is, like I said, you just got to get in. You got to get in, and you got to play well. Each Saturday you got to play well. And so, again, those experiences, there are some kids on our roster that are part of those experiences. And, we had a thing earlier today, and it was like, I didn't play real great against Saginaw Valley. At this time of year, there's no style points for me. It's about the winning points. So we have more points on the scoreboard than the other team. We'll take it any way we can get it. And, I think that we have a team that kind of gets that. We didn't hit the panic button again on Saturday when we're facing a 1-19. It's a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. We kept playing football. And, Greg, you're going to have to do that in the playoffs. These are good teams. It's going to be tight, and it's going to be competitive, and you got to have that type of resiliency and grit when you play in these type of games.
Coach, to that, playing those close games, you guys have played a number of close games this year. Is that something that you guys are going to call on during this time?
Yeah, for sure. We found different ways to win them. You look back at the ODU game, we were able to play some great defense and force some turnovers. Tiffin, we scored more points. We didn't play great defense, scored more points. And, obviously last Saturday it was a little bit more of a defensive battle. So I think at least maybe we have the confidence that we can find a way to win even when maybe one of our 3 phases isn't quite clicking the way it needs to click. We can get it done with one of the other 3 phases. And we have enough confidence that we're not just an offensive team, not just a defensive team. And again, I don't think we're I don't think we're one of the best offenses in the nation. I certainly don't think we're one of the best defenses in the nation. I don't think we're one of the best special teams group in the nation, but we're pretty solid in all 3 areas. And, we're going to have to all chip in and get the job done in all 3 of those areas.
Jim, as a senior, you played in the 2013 team. Now, there's a lot of guys on both sides of the ball who haven't ever played in a playoff game because this is a relatively young team with only 10 seniors. Are you going to talk to those guys during the week and just kind of fill them in on how things are going to go down?
Yeah, especially the younger guys. The playoffs get to be a bit of a different atmosphere. I know there's some rule changes. I know in regards to how many people you can have on the sideline, certain stuff like that. It is a little different. So that's definitely something I'm going to talk to a lot of the younger guys about. Want to prepare them for that so they're not caught off guard by it.
Okay, that'll conclude today's media luncheon. Thanks.
Thank you.